Well done to you all for making it on time. Absolutely fantastic to be doing that. We'll welcome the guests in a minute, but first, before I do that, I want to thank Third World Solidarity and also my very good friend Dave Anderson, unfortunately, who couldn't be here today. So I am stepping in for David, but I would have been here anyway because David's a very good friend. And we'll work together to do that. So we're very pleased to be here and want to move forward on the issue. The issue before us today is the Black Day in relation to Kashmir and the atrocities that took place. And I think it's very important for us to remember this, not just for the recognition of what happened, but also recognition that we avoid this in the future. And I think there's some very, very serious issues that are going on, particularly currently at the moment between Pakistan and India. India has deliberately started to move on a new policy, which they call the offensive defense. And the problem with that, as me, as somebody who's of Kashmiri origin, is that whatever they talk about in terms of the type of policy they have, invariably it affects the Kashmiris and it affects the Kashmiris on both sides. Ultimately, whatever they do, there has been incursions, there have been attacks across the border where already Kashmiris have lost their lives. And should that escalate to any other level, it will cause certainly more loss of lives. Certainly on all sides of Kashmir, which is not good for Kashmiris as a whole. And so we want to try and move away from that. So in recognizing the past, we also want to make sure that we don't allow ourselves and allow the region to get back into that sort of situation that we've been in looking at the issue of the Black Day. When these sort of atrocities take place, it's usually important for us to take stock of what's happening and trying to prevent it. And this is why I think it's important. When already we're here recognizing the tragedy that took place, and yet the policy is changing, which will affect possibly more tragedies to take place, which is not, I believe, certainly not good enough for a so-called the largest democracy in the world. And I should take issue with that. I say so-called because of some of the current issues that are going on in terms of elections that take place in Kashmir. And I've said that on the record, and I'll continue to say that on the record. And although it doesn't work very well with some of the Indian institutions, particularly High Commission, who already made a formal complaint about me to the leader of my party. So I think at least some of the messages should be getting through to them if we want to carry on doing that. I think what we want people to do is respect all of our people's civil liberties and human rights. Until we do that, we as a region are no further forward. I think all of the countries need to do that. It's very important for us to be able to move forward and to do that. So it's very important for us to do that and see how we move forward. We won't take too long today because I know that the ambassador and Stephen and me, we all got different engagements to get back to our constituencies, because I'm grateful to Stephen and I suppose the people that are here, particularly parliamentarians, when we've got a huge amount of work that we do on Thursdays and Fridays nowadays because coming to the election. And it's important that we carry on with that work and see how we move forward. So in sort of not trying to take up too much more of your time, I want to welcome the Mayor for Cheshire, which is inside. That's Cheshire. And also the Mayor for Kempston. Thank you for turning up. I know we've got some former mayors and councillors as well, and current councillors as well. We've got people from all sorts of ranges in the community. So I'd like to welcome you. And above all, I'd like to welcome the new High Commissioner. He's not so new now. I think he's been in for a while, and still obviously looking at the issues that are important within the community. And it's nice to see somebody who's quite open to the ideas and views that people have. about how best they can serve the expatriate community and community of people of Pakistani origin to be able to do that. We need a huge amount of, because of the amount of expatriate community that we have in this country, most of our constituents, we require a huge amount of service. And I'm glad to see the new High Commissioner is very proactive in working on some of those issues. And now he's going to be going out in the region, and very soon hopefully we'll welcome to Birmingham as well, and see how we can best support the expatriate community to move forward. So thank you for coming as well. Stephen, thank you again for coming. A lot of people are here, so I just really want to get on the way now. And Mushtaq, if you set it off and then we move forward from there.
Chairman, Your Excellency, esteemed mayors, councillors, my friends, Nawab Sahab, I hope now, I know there are some people who don't understand English. So I'm going to speak in Urdu as well, but let me say it in very plain Urdu in the beginning. When speakers are speaking, please keep quiet. If you're not understanding, still listen to them. I remember when Qaid Azam used to speak in the villages of Pakistan, before Pakistan was created, there were thousands of people who wouldn't understand a word of Qaid Azam. But they will listen to Qaid Azam very carefully. And one person asked one of the gentlemen, what he is saying? He said, I don't understand what he is saying, but I know he is speaking truth and he is an honest man. So let's today, on this Solidarity Day, respect the 15 million Kashmiris and be quiet for 1 hour, and then you can carry on speaking when you are out of this room. That is my request. I will say it in Urdu as well, because I said that a lot of people don't understand English. 1 घंटे के लिए प्लीज आपस में गुफ्तगू न करें. बुरा लगता है जब कोई स्पीकर बोल रहा होता है और मैं देख रहा था कि बहुत सारे लोग आपस में बातें कर रहे होते हैं. ये मेरी रिक्वेस्ट है आपको. Now, there are 15 million Kashmiris. We are here to show our solidarity to those 15 million Kashmiris who have been struggling for past 84 years. Because I was told last night by Hamad B, if you have seen the program, he has shown all the history of struggle of Kashmir, that the first meeting started in 13th of July 1931, when he organized a meeting for the right of Kashmiris. So I need correction, and there will be a lot of people who will be speaking about the history and everything because they are expert on it. But I wanted to start with that. 100,000 Kashmiris have been killed, tens of thousands of people have been raped, and I saw a program again tonight, half widows. The villages, husbands are taken away and they never turn back. So the widows are living without knowing that whether their husbands are being killed or they are still alive or in the prisons. We know that this is very important to remember when we are celebrating and we are showing our solidarity from Houses of Commons of United Kingdom. Because there is a history. Over 500,000 military persons are in Kashmir for past at least 26 years. And they are spending billions of pounds. It has become a military state. So let's work together to rescue the 15 million Kashmiris and their children and their wives to live in free life as you and we live in the United Kingdom and we enjoy the freedom as we enjoy in the Western world. Today, meeting is very important. I'll tell you why. Number one, it is February the 5th, and on 7th of May, there is election. Only 90 days away from today, in Britain, there are elections. And I'm very pleased that there are very senior people sitting here from Conservative Party, from Labour Party, from Liberal Democrat, and I don't care which party you belong to. I am from Labour Party and I will work for Labour Party. But I will make sure that wherever I go, I will speak for the people of Kashmir and Palestine and ask my MPs and candidates where you stand. And I'll come back and report it to you very soon after the election. I think it is very important because Obama has just recently visited India. And India is asking for a Security Council seat. We should campaign that until Kashmir issue is resolved, India should never be given a seat on the Security Council because it is one of the disputes which is the longest dispute. It is a dispute of people, not land. There are Hindus who live there, there are Sikhs who live there, there are Muslims, there are Christians in Kashmir. So we are working for all Kashmiris, not only for Muslims. there is another very important thing, I think, that in your constituencies, and I take this message, and I'm very pleased that today there is a lot of media, although there are 60, 70 people here, but I know that there are more than 1.4 million Pakistanis and Kashmiris and almost 3 million Muslims living outside in the United Kingdom. So take this message back that we are going to work together to raise the root causes of terrorism, not only killing the people who are suiciding and sometimes they are innocent. They don't know where they are going and why they are doing it. So we should distinguish in between freedom fighters, which are Palestinian or Kashmiris, and the terrorists. We should be very strong on terrorists. We should fight and prison them because they are criminal. But the freedom fighters are not. And we know in the history it has been proven that yesterday's terrorists became the legend of this world. Yasser Arafat and Nelson Mandela got the Nobel Prize for their struggle against occupation. So I think when people are fighting against occupation, we should not limit them with the terrorists. I think another very important point is, I promise you that I will do 5 meetings from today to 7th of May. In Kensington, I will invite all the candidates, and I'm pretty sure everybody in this room, if you organize 5 or 3 meetings, you can reach to 650 MPs of this, future MPs of this country. And you can see who is on your side and who is not. And clearly say, I will do it in Kensington, in Reading, because I know people there, and many other areas where I will try to bring them on a platform. Organize a small group. Organize Pakistan Solidarity Club in your constituencies. And ask the candidates to come and stand in front of you and ask them this question. Where do you stand on issue of Palestine? Where do you stand on issue of Kashmir? Where do you stand on issue of ISS and other organizations? And challenge them. And if recorded, and then bring it back to this parliament and show them that this was your stand before the election. Where is that stand today? I think it is very important that His Excellency is very open, as Khalid Mahmood has said, Chairman has said, but we should ask him to give us more support, because we need more information. We need the just cause of Pakistan, which is asking for dialogue. Let's sit down and resolve this issue. One of the oldest and very important issue among 2 very important Asian countries with nuclear deterrent, nuclear armament. So I think we of Pakistan is only asking for a dialogue. Come on the table, talk to us. Let's resolve this issue. I think it's very important. You gave us the information. Your Consul General should work with the local MPs and local councillors and with local community leaders to bring this issue up. I think it is very important that we work together, and irrespective where you stand, what group you belong to, what party you belong to, what thinking you have, what ideology you have, we are together to raise the issue of 15 million people of Kashmir. Let's raise it together, take it back to your constituency, and I hope that when we get back on 13th or 14th of July, which I'm going to ask you to come again here, and there is another meeting on 16th of March in the memory of Right Honorable Tony Benn. Come back and tell us what you have done. And I think that is important. If we all stand together, if all 1.4 million Pakistanis, and majority of them are Kashmiris, our 2 mayors sitting here, many other councillors are from Kashmir region, if we stand together, we can raise this issue. And because Labour Party has promised to Palestine that if they come to the government, they will recognize the state of Palestine, why can't we take the Kashmir issue to the same level as it is with Palestine? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mushtaq. I will take issue with one of the things that he raised about the so-called freedom fighter. I think the whole debate has moved on quite significantly. And I think what we've got to do is, instead of referring to anybody taking up arms, we've got to work within the remit of the law. And we have got to start to push properly through the channels that are available, looking at the democracy for people, looking at the human rights and civil liberties for people. I think the old idea, even when we talk about Palestine, those ideas don't exist anymore. And if we are to be true to what we want to do, and certainly in this parliament what we want to do, that we're going to be very clear on that. And as far as I'm concerned, that definition is not just blurred, there's no need for it. And we need to move away from that and move forward. So we'll start to disagree on that. If I can, in that spirit of joint supporters, let's go and invite Stephen Baker, Member of Parliament.
Thank you very much. Ambassador Clle, ladies and gentlemen, honoured guests, thank you very much indeed for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. It's a genuine pleasure to see you. Before I go any further, I'll just say that I'm really glad you said what you just did. I had the same discomfort, and I agree with what, absolutely agree with what you just said. We're here today very much in mind, with in mind the seriousness of the situation. We've been reminded that we're talking about two nuclear-armed powers, and we can see around the world just how badly out of control things can get when people do have grievances which they pursue violently. And my message above all is that we need to pursue things peacefully. I've been to Northern Ireland twice recently, and many of you will know that Northern Ireland has been a source of terrorism for many years in the UK. But what I observed is that progress came when there was peace. When people who would not speak to each other, learned to speak to one another, learned to engage in forgiveness and stop repentance, on the better term, stopping what they were doing, forgiving one another, at least to an extent that was necessary to speak to one another, and then moving forward peacefully. And that would be my overriding message, that we must have peaceful progress. I think, secondly, I really want us to recognise the UK's historic responsibility, and I'll come back to it, but there are a number of places around this world where the UK's withdrawal as an empire has left us dreadful humanitarian crises and disasters, political disasters, and the UK must recognise its responsibility, and I think particularly of the Holy Land and Sri Lanka, which is another place where I hear horrifying humanitarian tragedies and atrocities have been committed, which come straight home to my constituents. And we must bear in mind our historic responsibility. This issue, of course, is of very important significance, not only on a humanitarian basis, which is the first and foremost reason why it's important, but also on the international and domestic political scene. I don't think any politician who represents Kashmiris will be in any doubt about the political and, frankly, electoral importance of this issue. And that is a good thing. But I just would say this to you, let's be realistic. In this country, the Indian vote is also a very substantive sort of vote, and it is necessary to find a way forward so that politicians can make progress on the Kashmir issue without the kind of polarity which makes progress impossible. I'll come back to that in a moment. I want to pick up on this idea of offensive defence. I do not recognise offensive defence. If something is offensive, it is offensive. And we should put this preemptive defence, you hear these terms. No, we should have actually an attitude to this which is simple to the point of naivety, I should suggest. Do not attack it. No one attack anybody else. Refuse to attack anybody else. And say, actually, we are having a defensive posture where we are prepared to live in peace, to forgive and to speak. And in that attitude of peace and friendship, with an open hand, not one clasped around the spear, then you can go forward in friendship and make progress. So I absolutely reject this concept of offensive defence. It is an insult to people to engage in it, and I will always be wrong on that. I want to propose three actions. Firstly, we must, just return to this point, we must recognise that both Pakistan and India are of the first political importance internationally and domestically. If one were to take an attitude, and I know perhaps hard to hear from somebody, if one were to take an attitude India must be brought to her knees before we can make any progress, we'll never make progress. I absolutely agree that India ought not to have a permanent seat in the Security Council while this remains unresolved. I think that's extremely It is crucially, it's part of the negotiating strategy to ask India, to require India to make progress. So I absolutely endorse that point. But we must recognise that there is a large Indian presence in the UK, and people do take polarised positions. And this is why I've always emphasised the universality of human rights. The right to decide peacefully at the ballot box who governs you. Just as I want a referendum on our membership of the EU, which perhaps we'll disagree on, I That's why I'm in politics. I came into politics because I wanted to restore British democratic control of who governs us with a referendum on our membership of the EU. I'm pro-European in the sense of loving Europe, but I do think that democracy matters and that we must have the opportunity to choose or reject our governments peacefully at the ballot box. And what I require for myself in my own country, I require for Kashmiris. Because I think that's only fair and just. And that is why I'm so good. Frankly, there are two reasons why I'm so committed to this cause. One, on behalf of my constituents who I'm duty-bound to represent, and the other, because there is a clear parallel for me, that the passion I feel about the European Union shows me the passion indicates in my heart, the passion that all of you feel. But in the midst of all of that, we must remember the importance of the Indian vote, and we must create the space within which politicians who represent Indian communities can also join us in asserting the universality of those rights. And so that is why I would encourage you to stick to the universality of those rights. The second point is we must be realistic about what the government can and will do. Precisely because we have this historic legacy, those independent nations of Pakistan and India, particularly India, are bound to push back if we seem to be reasserting our colonial power. That is realpolitik, it is inevitable, and we must be cautious of it. I recognise that realistically, if the government takes a line which is too strong, it is bound to have a strong reaction from India. That means that the government should proceed cautiously, but that doesn't mean there's an excuse for not proceeding at all. Precisely because this country contains large diaspora populations from both India and Pakistan, that is precisely why progress ought to be made. Because it's in the interests of both populations that the situation is resolved and that India and Pakistan are able to trade freely and live in peace. And the third point I want to make is up-to-date information. It is absolutely right that we meet together to remember atrocities. It is absolutely right that we do that. But we must also make sure that the things we complain about the most are current, contemporary, that they are accurately reported, and that they're brought before the world. The question was asked, why can we not achieve for Kashmir what's been achieved for Palestine? And I voted to recognise Palestine after very careful consideration because it's such an important issue. The issue is this, it's putting before the public the reason why action must take place. And it's no good, frankly, showing people things that happened decades ago. We have to show people things which are happening now. And there's no reason not to. Many of us in this room, I've seen we've got smartphones. I'm standing before at least 4 cameras. There's absolutely no reason why we can't show people, using the internet, what is happening today. And that the things which are happening today should be powerful enough on their own. I see we've got journalists in the room. You are absolutely crucial in this. You are so important. Showing the British people, wherever they may hail from, what is happening today, in order to put pressure on the British government to make progress which is fair to all people. And that is how we will make the same progress that's been made on Palestine. With that, I want to finish. I want to say thank you very much to Maz and Zia in particular here from Highwood. Really appreciate you waiting for me and bringing me in. I have to say, this is one of the best meetings we've had here in Parliament for attendance. And I'll finish where I began by saying thank you, all of you, for being here. And let's go forward together peacefully to seek a just solution based on fundamental human rights to which everyone is entitled.
Thank you very much. I'd like now to call on His Excellency, the High Commissioner of Pakistan, to say a few words. Okay.
Thank you, Chairman, MP Khalid Mahmood, my friend, MP Stephen Baker, Lord Mayors, Councillors, and my friend Mushtaq Lasharie sir, who has organized this event on behalf of the Third World Solidarity. Thank you very much for doing that, because you people are trying to raise your voice in support of the voiceless people of Kashmir. As my friend Mr. Khalid Mahmood just said that, I'm new here. Yes, I'm new in the last 4 months. I'm not that new, but I'm in the last 4 months. This is my 5th even on Kashmir, which I'm telling you. It's very good, and I thank you all for attending this. I think, as MP Stephen Baker said, it's very well attended event. Yes, I agree. Yes, it is. But my question to you all is, what have we achieved in the last 4 months of the 5 meetings we have attended? I think my friend Mr. Lasharie alluded to that, and I think he has given you the roadmap. I think that's the way to go forward. Because let me share with all those who don't know that the Kashmiris are the most peaceful people on this face of earth. They are the people who have never taken up arms, if you look into their history. But what made them to do this, what they have done, they are doing today? Because for the good about half a century, they waited the world, they waited the international community to honor their commitment. That not being the case, now they are demanding their fundamental human rights. That is, right to self-determination. I think
organized. India has never allowed
human rights, each or any universal or one general consensus. You know,
thousands of people have been they were killed during this.
Whether they want to be.
There are thousands of houses have been.
That's fine. That's sovereign, guaranteed right or something. But still, if you know, they're the children of God. They also have the right.
They put hurdles. We request international community to come forward and help those.
So I think, as it was mentioned here a while ago, that 100,000 deaths. Yes. If you take any yardstick in the world, the 700,000 occupation forces of India, if you compare the ratio with the population of Kashmir, this is the largest 1 to 2 ratio proportion of the military forces against the civilian population. This is the largest concentration of military in any part of the world. The only discomforting factor is that we gather here very often.
We hope, inshallah, we will get freedom from India. We will get freedom from India.
That there is a very systematic campaign going on by the occupying forces of India and by the occupation government that they want to bring about a demographic change in Kashmir, in Jammu and Kashmir. I think it's about time that the world should take notice of that, because this campaign is well designed and is well orchestrated to bring some fundamental changes in the status of Jammu and Kashmir. Let me assure you that the government of people of Pakistan, even it was said by the Prime Minister of Pakistan today while addressing the Azad Kashmir Assembly, that he said, whatever it takes, Pakistan will never step back from its support to the just and the principled cause of Kashmiri people. So I think that's our fundamental position, which we will adhere to. We will continue giving diplomatic, political and moral support to the people of Kashmir. We have been doing it, and we will continue doing whatever it takes. There might be some conundrum for some people, that they have to choose between, there are two communities, etc. I would say that, my dear friends, because I'm standing in a premises of the mother of all governments, and I would say, please take the position which is principled. Go for the principles, do not go for the head counts. And if the principle demands that there is a just cause for the Kashmiris, then please lend your support, because they are the people who have suffered for more than 6 decades. Having said that, I would say that we have never shied as a government, as a country, from having dialogue with anybody or everybody to resolve this dispute, which is one of the oldest on the UN International Charter, or UN agenda for the last 67 years or so. But nobody should get us wrong that we will, under certain pressure, or for this reason or for that reason, we will not be standing by shoulder to shoulder with Kashmiris. We will, whatever it takes, because I think that's our commitment, that's the cornerstone of our policy, and we would be very happy to talk to our neighbor India across the table, which we have said time and again. But let me also tell you that that desire for negotiations may not be construed as a weakness. We are quite capable to defend our borders, and in the last few months there have been some rise in the tensions on the borders. So I think there should be no doubt in anybody's mind that any mistake can be very costly and pricey. So with this, I would say once again that we stand committed to have this Kashmir dispute matter resolved peacefully. We don't want to urge anybody to do anything which is unlawful, which is not within the bounds of law, wherever you are. But let me, ladies and gentlemen, tell you that the Kashmiris on the ground are doing whatever they can. They are running this independence and right for self-determination campaign with their blood and tears. But I request you, all the diaspora here who are living in a better environment and circumstances, that they must show some respect for their brethren and for the right cause. Because I'm not saying that they should take up any situation, any unlawful situation, but I think it was just chalked out a while ago that you have to very respectfully, very lawfully put your point of view across, and that's the way to go forward. Before I conclude, I would say that it would be causing insult and injury to the indigenous struggle of the Kashmiri people if anybody tries to put any kind of a tag on it. It is very much a Kashmiri's own struggle, and they are waging it. Nobody is supporting them in terms of any material support. They are fighting this war with their blood and tears. But as far as we are concerned, we will continue doing what we are doing. We are extending moral, diplomatic support to this just cause, the Kashmiri people. And we hope that, and all other, freedom struggles, freedom, independence movements, this will also, inshallah, one day see the light of the day, and Kashmiris will be successful. But nobody should think that, Kashmiris can be kept under chains anymore, because they have realized that they waited long enough to the world to come to their rescue, but that not be the case. I think it's about time that these events like today, where we express our solidarity with our brothers and sisters in Kashmir, it gives them source of strength that we have not forgotten them. Of course, we have not forgotten them. And inshallah, together we will make difference. And I think it's a matter of principle. And let's stand up for the principles. It's not the numbers, it's the principle. I thank you very much for your patient hearing, and I once again express my gratitude for the Third World Solidarity Forum to organizing this very important event tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We haven't got much time, but I think we can quite stick to very short questions rather than speeches. And we'll start with Councillor Chaudhry Aslam, the former Mayor of Brent.
Well, thank you. Thanks very much. I just want to say a couple of things. A lot of what I want to say has already been said, but quite frankly, I do think it's important to understand. I happen to be also from Kashmir and literally 400 or 500 yards from the border, so I experienced the daily unprovoked attacks on our villages, more so than perhaps most people. And that's really it's quite a really great situation. As I said, I've only been there about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I have witnessed for myself, I've seen it myself, how many people are dying on a daily basis. And I think that really should come home to a lot of people. You know, it's unfortunate that we don't have gas, we don't have electricity, or we don't have gas and we don't have oil in that part of the world. Otherwise, a lot of people would pay attention to Kashmir. But nevertheless, as the High Commissioner said, right, come what may, we will continue to fight for the just cause of our people in Kashmir. 15 million people, it's not a small number. There are many places in the world where the number is much smaller and attention is given to that part of the world. And frankly, it's about time that people do pay attention to it. I'm also somewhat concerned about when politicians sort of talk about that we should work peacefully and we should work and we restrained and this, that, the other. In all due respect, sir, I mean, you know, I'm a councillor from the Labour Party, and my colleague, Member of Parliament for Brent North, actually recently made a speech, right, about India, how democratic this place is, and I'll just say that. I would let me sort of say a couple of things because I think it's important. And he was saying that, you know, democracy in India is above anything else, and we should respect that. Well, how about respecting what happened to 15 million people in Kashmir, right? You know, for those guys are forgotten, for God's sake. Yeah? And you know, there are people who talk about we should work together and this, that, and that. But these are the very people who really need to work together to facilitate what's going on. So with that, I really want to say that thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Very quickly, the gentleman at the back. Please state your name, please.
I have a little suggestion, sir, for all of you to understand and think over this, what I am going to say. During the apartheid time, in front of the embassy, there were 2 people sitting all the time, 24 hours, in front of the embassy, saying that we want equality in South Africa. Why can't we, Kashmiris, can do that against the Indian embassies all over the Europe, all over the world, in America and also in Asia? Why can't we put 2 Kashmiris in front of them saying that we want plebiscite in Kashmir, and I am ready to provide food to the people who will start over here in the United Kingdom. And not only here in front of the Indian embassy, but also all over the Europe. That is what is my suggestion, sir.
Thank you.
And that is what I wish that you should consider for our liberation in Kashmir. Thank you very much.
Yes, go on, yeah.
Just if I may, I'd just like to make a response to the 2 things that have been said. So that is a good idea. That is a good idea because that is peaceful and will raise the political profile. Nobody can argue that. But we cannot endorse violence. If I'm asked to endorse violence, I will always refuse. We cannot endorse it. We can't make excuses for it. Things too much is at stake. What we can do though is, you say you've just got back and you've seen violence. Why aren't you showing me video today? I mean, this is what people must do. If you go there, you've got your smartphone, for goodness sake, take a video and bring it home and say this was last week. Because then I can say, now I understand, now I've seen the evidence for last week, now I can show it to the minister, and now I can go somewhere. But if you ask me to endorse violence, I cannot, I will not do it.
I don't know, for one moment saying the violence.
Sorry.
First of all, I would like to say thank you very much, Mr. Lasharie, who has given me the opportunity to me and my wife to come to this party. And I want to say a question in the Urdu. and I want reply from MP Sarwar in the Urdu because this must be going to go to Pakistan as well and people can see in Pakistan. Sarwar Sahab, sorry, I do apologize. Khalid Sahab, सबसे पहले तो मैं सलूट पेश करता हूँ सईदा वाकई मुझे यहाँ नज़र नहीं आ रही जिस बहाली से उन्होंने इस्तीफा दिया था और उसके नेक्स्ट डे इसराइल ने अटैक करना बंद कर दिया था फ़लस्तीनियों पर। ये ऑन द रिकॉर्ड है क्योंकि उन्होंने ये इशू उठाया था कि ये ब्रिटेन जो है उनको वेपन बेच रहा है। क्या आप ये बताएं कि आप लोग इस किस्म का कोई अब फोरम बना के यूएनओ में नहीं जा सकते जो यूके के लोग हैं क्योंकि बेस्ट फोरम इज यूएन टू रिजॉल्व दिस प्रॉब्लम कश्मीर प्रॉब्लम और वहाँ पर आप जाके इस मसले को हल क्यों नहीं करते यूएन के अंदर जो है कि दैट इज द बेस्ट प्लेस। इसका अगर आप आंसर दें। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
आप जरा फैक्चुअल बात कर लें बिकॉज़ रूल जाएंगे मैं आगे
So sorry. Like Councillor Aslam Chaudhry from Azad Kashmir, I myself live about 100 or 200 yards away from the border, and I have lost my all family members through this violence from the Indian troops. 700 troops have been mentioned. I think that is something which you really are ignoring. The violence from what people talk here, nobody will accept that, nobody will endorse that, but what we need to understand, the 700 troops in Kashmir does not have, and Muslims are from the Kashmiris, this side of the Kashmir, are losing lives all the time. And that is something which really needs to be addressed. I understand your question about smartphones and all that, but I think I would invite you personally, on my own expense, to come and visit with me and see the border yourself and see and speak to the people who have lost their lives during this time.
Thank you very much. And look, I think what Stephen said is still totally right. Please, by all means, invite us and be happy to go when we have the time to do that. But why waste that much time when you have the resource at your hand? Yes. You have these things, you all walk around. Why don't we use what's available to us, and then when it's possible for us to do that? So let's not get stuck in the semantics of what's going on. What I've said for a long time is that too often we sit in meetings like this, and the Commissioner said this again, is that we talk and talk and talk. For the last almost 50 years that we've sat in these meetings talking about this issue, the people have continued to suffer. And Stephen quite rightly said this, the Commissioner said this, I'm saying this, is that unless we're prepared to move forward in a constructive way and see how we can deal with it, unless we stop making all sorts of claims about endorsing violence and moving forward, then we'll have a reason to move forward. You also raised the issue of Syed Ibne Abbas. I mean, fair play to her what she did in relation to what she did, but I think you don't really understand the history of what other peoples have done in this Parliament in relation to that. And that's just not people like me, but other members of parliamentarians like Stephen and a lot of people who've been here representing people like Gerald Kaufman, who work extremely hard on all those issues, and a huge amount of people who do the work to support that. So there is a lot of parliamentarians who are not necessarily of Southeast Asian origin, who have done a huge amount of work, and we should recognise that as well. So let's not try and narrow it down. The gentleman at the back.
Yeah, thank you for giving the chance, Jeremy. Basically, I'm a community peace activist and social researcher. Previously, there was an event in House of Lords about the Kashmir. And the President of Kashmir, Sardar Yaqub, was present at. And I'm agree with you, too much talk, too much events, too much seminars is still there, but there is no proper media for creating awareness on the ground of human rights. There is no any think tank of Kashmiris and non-Kashmiris to raise awareness about the human rights issue. This is not issue of Pakistan and India.
Yes.
That's why India don't giving our rights, because we have a lot of bad experiences. So we have to think about that this is a human rights issue. We have to establish a media, international media on the ground of human rights. We have to establish think tanks. And we have to protest like intellectual ways, not like only talks, some productive ways. Thank you for, I'm agree with you, talks, not solution of this Kashmir issue. Thank you.
Chairman, Right Honourable Member Khalid Mahmood MP, and Your Excellency MP Mushtaq Lasharie, Councillors, Mayors, Assalamu alaikum. We are here to show solidarity with our Kashmiri brothers. there's definitely a human rights issue here. 8,000 mass graves were discovered in Kashmir, and we, the community, failed to highlight this. I will ask my government, which is British government, to get involved. When there was a dispute in Ireland between Protestants and Catholics, Senator Mitchell came from America, mediated, and we found a solution. We need to have a third party mediation, bring India to the table, and I request my government, which is British government, to play their part.
Thank you very much.
The Chairman, Excellency, Human Rights, all my friends, brothers and sisters. I'm not going to make a speech, but I have one suggestion. My suggestion is that just don't say few things, few words, and walk out of this door and forget all about it. Let's commit ourselves to all Kashmiri brothers and sisters who are suffering for the last 62 years. And I can assure you, if we are honest and serious for them, we can do a lot in sitting in the UK. Myself is councillor, and I know how can we do a lot of things for people of Kashmir. I can only say to you all, go home and go and see your candidate for the parliament. You've got golden opportunity in front of you. Get the commitment from them and only vote them to commit for the Kashmiris. And for this message, I think we should go home and do our work. I'll leave it with that. Thank you.
Well, I just think you're absolutely right, sir. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But I do think where I want to be realistic is this. It's absolutely right. You should be properly represented democratically. But I do think if we're going to move forward, it's important to recognise that candidates need the space to stand on universal principles, and that means allowing India, to be honest, the space to withdraw with I can't think of a better word, with some honour. It is a lot, and we have to give the British government the space to talk to India because it is such a large nation and because we have so many Indian people in the UK. And I think that perhaps has been what's been missing. But are you right? Yes, of course you're right. Everybody should know what's going on.
Just a quick question about China's alliance with Pakistan as opposed to India, which is controversial as far as Modi is concerned, for starters. What impact does that alliance have on a divided Pakistan? And I think that is perhaps directed to the Commissioner of Pakistan.
Chandra, you see, thank you. China has a good relation with India and Pakistan too. With Pakistan, they have something like $12 billion of trade, that India runs into hundreds of billions of dollars trade with India. So I think these are not, we don't see the relations of one country through the prism of other. These are the stand-alone relations, and we respect. So it's for China to decide, what sort of relation they want to have with India or with Pakistan. Of course, yes, we have very good relations with China, and we are building upon those, and step by step. Of course, there's no doubt. But I think this is how the international, relations work.
Sorry, just stand it. Just this one.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, Khalid Mahmood MP, Your Excellency. In fact, I think we misunderstood each other. What you're saying, you're quite right, but we are not in favor of violence, and we are asking violence. What all we ask, peaceful solution. And I'm just notifying one thing. Recent visit of President Barack Obama. He visited for 4 days India, and he refused to take questions on Kashmir issues. So what our struggle is for peaceful resolve of this issue. That's what we are asking India and the rest of the world. If we are not if we don't want the peaceful resolution, then we go and fight. We are not offering fight, we are asking peaceful resolve of this problem, So what your suggestion, advice, we take your advice, and that's you're quite right, and we take from there.
Just to be absolutely clear, I am, of course, convinced that the vast majority of people reject violence and want peace. I just simply endorse what Khalid said earlier about not allowing ourselves to talk about freedom fighters in a nutshell. Let us not talk about freedom fighters. Let us instead commit to peaceful and lawful resolution using democratic processes, because I am absolutely sure that the overwhelming majority of people do want peace and progress and prosperity, and to worship God as they see it in their own way, letting others go in their own way. But my goodness, we are under a lot of pressure, not only in the UK, but around the world, on this particular set of issues. And I want us all to just be absolutely clear that we want peace in all things, at all times.
Absolutely, I think I endorse the MP that we condemn violence wherever it takes place, whatever shape it takes place, whatever reason it might have. We condemn violence, we condemn all sorts of terrorism. We should all be together. There should be no misunderstanding of the fact, as it was said by the floor. And I think I also amply made it clear that we want the peaceful resolution of this dispute, so that the aspirations of the Kashmiri people are answered. And the aspirations of the Kashmiri people, there are a couple of ways to judge those. Either through the plebiscite which has been promised to them by the United Nations Security Council, or through some other mechanism whichever the international community agrees upon. But I think the sham elections which are being held there time and time again, there are no solutions, or there are no alternative for finding the aspiration of those people who have been under oppression and under occupation. Having said that, let me also conclude by saying that we will respect, the government of Pakistan will respect whatever the decision the Kashmiri people take to determine their own future. We will respect that and we will honor that, and again, let me assure you that we are for peaceful, negotiated settlement of this long-standing dispute which has been there on the UN Security Council agenda for more than 70 years. Thank you.
Very last question, and then I'll be Mushtaq at best time to answer.
Muhammad Ali Chauhan, Information Secretary of All Pakistan Muslim League. Let me remind the House, please, it was Indian Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru who made a resolution on Kashmir, where he is obligatory, the Indian government is obligatory for the right of self-determination of the people of Kashmir. And they have been avoiding it for all these years. And terrorism, if we say the struggle of Kashmiri people, the struggle of Kashmiri people, if we call them terrorism, it is only breeding because the international community has not fulfilled and has not been able to deliver the justice to the people of Kashmir. We have lost almost 100,000 Kashmiris in the hands of Indian Army soldiers. And let me remind the House again, please, there are 750,000 army officers who are patrolling 7 million people living in Kashmir, which is absolute human disaster in this 21st century. And may I please request you guys, and kindly from the bottom of my heart, I respect your hard work you guys are doing, but I don't think it's reaching enough, because India is begging, and India is forcefully coming forward to become the member of National Security Council of the United Nations. If that happens, then the issue of Kashmir will disappear from the surface altogether. Thank you very much.
Just very quickly, and this is the last one. I think you really defeat your own argument by saying what you're saying, because the more of a view that you give towards an armed struggle, the more right it gives to the Indians to have more army in there to do that. And so you're really traveling backwards every time you say this. What we've got to do is look at what those people are currently suffering. And if we're to do that, and then the only way we can put pressure on the Indians to take those forces out is if they're less armed resistance. And so we've got to be very clear on this, and I can't be any more clear than we are. Because we can make those speeches here, we can do all of those things here, but that doesn't help those people out there who continuously over the last 50 odd years at least have been under these sort of situations. So come on, I think we need to get real about these discussions, because the more you do that, India is one of the largest countries on the globe with a huge arsenal of arms. And if you're going to say Pakistan's going to take them on to beat them, that's not going to happen, and nor does Pakistan want to do that. So I think it's best for all of us to stop talking like that and talk seriously about how we can engage as a democracy on the rules that we have for all democracies about human rights and civil liberties and move forward. And then perhaps you might get this place to have a far stronger role and a voice in that, moving that forward. So that's the way we are moving forward. Mushtaq, would you like to finish on this?
I know I said something and that's why this whole debate started. Can I assure you all that I believe in peaceful struggle, not armed struggle? I was just only giving a reference to history. Otherwise, I do believe in peaceful dialogue, because third world solidarity is there. I think if you look at our website, it says all the disputes should be resolved through dialogue, not through fights. And that's why we oppose even America going to Iraq, America going to Afghanistan, because we think the wars will not bring in the peace. Peace can only be achieved through dialogue, and we believe in that. So that's why I was just giving a reference to the history. And I was saying that we should differentiate the peaceful struggle and the manning of ISS and other terrorist organizations. That was only my thing. Can I say thank you, everybody? I know there are a lot of people who want to ask questions. I will allow you on 16th of March, if you come to this room, everybody will be allowed to ask a question. But today, we are short of time because both of them have to go and campaign for their election on 7th of May. But let me conclude by thanking everybody. I'm not going to name anybody now. Thanking everybody. But can I ask everybody, go and speak to your neighbor who is not Pakistani or Kashmiri. Bring them in. Because if you can involve the indigenous population into your struggle, that will be also very helpful, because Palestinian has done it. Palestinian solidarity campaign is run by the indigenous population, so bring in the indigenous population. Thank you very much once again, and good night.
Partially regulated industry doesn't always pay off.